I do an introduction of the...
Sure you can. Just... Daily routine, presenting and reading petitions. I recognize the honourable member of Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Peer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to table a petition with the operative clause reading: we, the undersigned, request the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works pave the New Waterford Highway Trunk 28 from Daly Road, New Victoria to Ellsworth Avenue in New Waterford in the spring and summer of 2020. This project has been continuously pushed for the past 4 years. The road continues to deteriorate, making it unsafe. There are 70 signatures on the petition, and I've affixed my own.
The petition is tabled. Presenting reports of committees. Tabling reports, regulations, and other papers. Statements by ministers. Government's notice of motion. Introduction. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Speaker. I hereby give notice on a future day I should move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas the southwest region of our province is dealing with increasing instances of arson, threats, and violence on wharves that are largely connected to illegal harvesters from as far away as the United States who are taking advantage of the lack of enforcement by federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And whereas the federal Liberal government has been warned repeatedly for years about the risks and dangers of illegal activities in the fisheries sector, but has stubbornly refused to prioritize enforcement, the safety of our communities, or the sustainability of Nova Scotia's most valuable resource. And whereas the Nova Scotia government takes its responsibility for public safety seriously and has doubled our law enforcement resources, as well as stepping up inspection and enforcement activities in the areas of the fishery that fall within our jurisdiction, therefore be it resolved that all members of the Nova Scotia Legislature strongly condemn the shameful inaction of Prime Minister Trudeau and his government and urge the Prime Minister to immediately instruct the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to safeguard communities in southwest Nova Scotia with effective enforcement measures to restore the rule of law and peace of mind in communities of southwest Nova Scotia. Madam Speaker, I ask for waiver of notice and passage without debate.
There has been a request for a waiver. Is it agreed?
Agreed.
It is agreed. Would all those in favour of the motion please say aye?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to make an introduction.
Please do.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in your gallery today, we have Senator Fabian Manning. Senator Manning has dedicated his life to public service, representing the people of Newfoundland and Labrador with unwavering commitment and integrity. His extensive career spans various levels of government, including roles as a municipal councillor, member of the House of Assembly, member of Parliament, and now as a senator. Senator Manning is currently in his 14th year as the chair of the Senate Standing Committee on Fisheries and Oceans. In addition to this role, he is a tireless advocate for victims of intimate partner violence, working across party lines to tackle this critical issue. He has been happily married to his wife Sandra for 36 years. Together, they are the proud parents of Fabian Jr., Mark and Heather, and grandparents of Fabian III and Ricky Ann. He's also the uncle to one of my favorite people, Jacob. I ask members of the legislature to please join me in recognizing Senator Manning for his dedication to public service and our great country, and welcome him to our legislature. Welcome, Senator.
Welcome. We hope you enjoy your time here, and thank you for your service. Introduction of bills. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Service, Nova Scotia.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2021, the Interim Residential Rental Increase Cap Act, and Chapter 401 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Residential Tenancies Act.
The Honourable Minister of Service, Nova Scotia begs leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2021, the Interim Residential Rental Increase Cap Act, and Chapter 401 of the Revised Statute 1989, the Residential Tenancy Act.
Bill 467, an act to amend Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2021, the Interim Residential Rental Increase Cap Act, and Chapter 401 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Residential Tenancies Act.
Ordered that the bill be read a second time on a future date. Notices of my apologies. I recognize the Honourable Member for Halifax Needham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to introduce a bill titled An Act to Reintroduce School Boards.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Needham begs leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Reintroduce School Boards.
Bill 468, an act to reintroduce school boards.
Ordered that the bill be read a second time on a future date. I recognize the Honourable Member for Queens.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to table a bill entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 81 of the Acts of 1876, an act to incorporate the trustees of the Hunter Church Building Fund.
All right.
The Honourable Member for Queens begs leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 81 of the Acts of 1876, an act to incorporate the trustees of the Hunter Church Building Fund.
Bill 469, an act to amend Chapter 81 of the Acts of 1876, an act to incorporate the trustees of the Hunter Church Building Fund.
Ordered that the bill be read a second time on a future date. I recognize the Honourable Member for Cumberland North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to table a bill entitled An Act to Provide Relief from Expenses Due to Road Construction. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cumberland North begs leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Provide Relief from Expenses Due to Road Construction.
Bill 470, an act to provide relief from expenses due to road construction.
Order that the bill be read a second time on a future date. Notices of motion. Statement by members. I recognize the Honourable Member for Lunenburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to bring attention to a solemn ceremony that is taking place at our country's National Memorial for Fallen Firefighters in Ottawa today, and to a Nova Scotia man who will be honoured there. David John Lobb did not grow up in Nova Scotia, but moving to Lunenburg in the latter years of his life, he immersed himself so fully in community life, volunteering with organizations from the Food Bank to the Folk Harbor Festival, he rightfully earned the title Blue Noser. In fact, David John was a youthful 65 years old when he joined the Lunenburg and District Fire Department, rarely missing a call or practice, right up until his last call that sadly brought his colleagues to his own door. Madam Speaker, I would ask my fellow members to please rise for a moment of silence in honor of David John Lobb and all our fallen firefighters being recognized today.
Please rise. Thank you. Please be seated. I recognize the honourable member for Yarmouth.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Today I rise to celebrate the remarkable resilience and determination exemplified in Melissa Burns, the fiancée of deceased battle rap artist Pat Stay. With the overwhelming support from her community, Melissa Burns recently opened her own business in Dartmouth, a dream that she shared with Pat before his tragic murder. Despite facing unimaginable loss, Melissa's strength, along with the love from family, friends, and neighbors, have turned this dream into a reality. Her courage is a testament to her character as a persevering mother and to the love and support of the community. And once again shows how Nova Scotians can lift each other up during times of extreme hardship. I invite all members to join me in celebrating Melissa's achievement and congratulating Melissa on the opening of her new business, and wish her and her son all the very best moving forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Madam Speaker, recently this government reversed its ill-advised decision to increase the threshold to qualify for the rent supplement, bringing the percentage of the income that you need to spend on your rent down from 50% to 40%. Not quite the original 30%, but it is a first step. I'm proud to recognize two Dartmouth North residents who spoke out and no doubt contributed to this change, Sylvia Cole and Don Bishop. Sylvia is a senior who spends more than 60% of her fixed income on housing. Because of this, she was confident that she would be approved for the rent supplement. Sadly, due to flaws in the program, she was not. As Sylvia has said, what's the point of having a rental subsidy when you make it impossible to get? Dawn is a single mother who works full-time and was also denied despite spending more than half of her take-home income on rent. Unfortunately, the supplement is calculated on a pre-tax income, which Dawn rightly calls an imaginary number that you do not see in your pocket. I want to thank Sylvia Cole and Don Bishop for speaking up. Their voices have and will continue to make a difference. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Richmond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize one of the tireless volunteers in Richmond County, Claire Doyle. Claire chairs the Stella Marie Social Justice Committee and volunteers with the Ilmadam Food Bank, the Straight Richmond Housing Matters Coalition, the Rocky Bay Irish Club, the Seniors Take Action Coalition, and is president of the Ilmadam Garden Club. Claire was also a founding member of the Ilmadam Brownies and Guides, the Religious Education Coordinator for Stella Marie Pastoral Unit, president of the Ilmadam Tourism and Business Association, and an executive member of the local Canadian Cancer Society. Claire really is a tremendous volunteer in our community, and she's proud to come from a large Acadian family. Madam Speaker, I ask members of this legislature to please join me in thanking Claire for all her hard work in our community. Her efforts make life so much better for all of us. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Timberley Prospect.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to congratulate the community of Beachville as the proud recipient of the 2024 Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia Community Spirit Award. Nova Scotia is the genesis of Black communities in Canada for over 400 years, and Beachville is one of the 50-plus communities that has a special, unique story, a story that needs to be more widely known. The award is a reflection of the perseverance of the ancestors of this community and the community groups working hard to preserve and protect the identity of Beachville, formerly of Beach Hill, dating all the way back to 1816 when the first Black refugees arrived in Beachville. The legacy and contributions from families go back generations and continue to this day. People like Dr. Oliver and all of those people that worked alongside of him like Reg Hamilton and others to build the Munro subdivision. Please join me in congratulating Yasmin Erdogan, Keegan Blackmore, George Blackmore, Tamara Ash, Paula Blackmore, Paul Blackmore, and Danica Ash, all the members of the Beachville Walkettes administrative team, for preparing and submitting the application and for receiving the prestigious Lieutenant Governor's Community Spirit Award, a testament of the collective character, quality, and excellence of the people of Beachville. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member of Halifax-Chebucto.
A memorial gathering was held August 14th at the Shelburne Community Centre to remember John Davis, who's passing earlier this year. I wish to mark before the House. John Bradford Davis of Atlantic, Shelburne County, was an indefatigable environmentalist and defender of the ocean, the fishery, and the coastal communities of Nova Scotia. Beginning with the No Rigs campaign of the 1980s, John was one of the province's first and strongest voices calling for a moratorium on offshore drilling on Georges Bank. He was centrally associated with the campaign to protect offshore Nova Scotia of the South Shore chapter of the Council of Canadians. And as founder of the Clean Ocean Action Committee and its director, he was instrumental in advocating for a no-drilling buffer zone around the fishing grounds of Browns and Georges. In 2017, he was the NDP candidate for the provincial constituency of Queens-Shelburne. John was 76. He is held in memory with gratitude, respect, and warmth. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member of Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to congratulate Frank Cadillac and Adrian Morse of Lower Sackville for winning an East Coast Music Award. Neon Dreams is a Canadian alt-pop duo consisting of vocalist Frank Cadillac and drummer Adrian Morse. They write and produce their own music along with longtime collaborator Corey LaRue. In May of 2024, Neon Dreams was nominated for an East Coast Music Award and took home Album of the Year for their production of Love Child Baby Dolphin. Being able to watch Frank and Adrian develop into such incredible musicians has been an honor for me as they grew in our community and expanded out. And they have made our community very proud of them. Madam Speaker, I would ask that all members of the House of Assembly join me in congratulating Frank and Adrian on their ECMA win and wish them continued success in their future musical endeavors. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Fairview-Clayton Park.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I'm thrilled to celebrate Care and Fun Childcare, who marked 12 years of service to our community on July 29th. This year also saw their expansion into a new location on June 3rd, 2024, enhancing their capacity to serve the diverse families of Fairview-Clayton Park. Under the leadership of Hoda Ibrahim, Care and Fun Childcare has been recognized for its diversity, reflecting the multicultural fabric of our community. It's fitting that in Fairview-Clayton Park, named the most diverse community east of Montreal, we now boast the most diverse daycare as well. This addition enhances our community's rich tapestry of cultures and supports a nurturing, inclusive environment for our children. Additionally, Hoda was honored last year with the Queen's Jubilee Award for her outstanding community service, further underscoring the impactful work that's being done at Care and Fun Childcare. Madam Speaker, please join me in applauding Hoda Ibrahim and her dedicated team at Care and Fun on their 12th anniversary and their commitment to diversity and excellence in childcare. Here's to many more years of growth, diversity, and success. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax-Needham.
Madam Speaker, I stand today to recognize Africville and its people. As a descendant of Africville, each year my family and I look forward to the reunion to see folks that we haven't seen in a while and have some fun with family and friends on the grounds. The reunion was established so that past residents and their families could come together and spend some time on the grounds with each other to share stories, laughs, and just have fun together, never forgetting where they came from. The history of Africville is devastating yet beautiful. I'm so grateful and blessed to have been taught the firsthand knowledge by my West family and elders from Africville, to have learned the resiliency and faith of my people to never give up and fight for what's right, because I know that the spirit does live on in me and my children, and it will continue for generations to come. So I would like all members of this House to think about the Sankofa bird. It is an important symbol of African culture, representing a deep appreciation and respect for one's history and ancestors. Looking back into the past and learning from it are essential steps to taking control of one's destiny, as well as finding success in the present.
I recognize the honourable member for Eastern Passage.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to congratulate my constituent, Courtney Sherlock, for having a vision for a women's soccer team on the East Coast. Courtney's astute connection to community and sharp entrepreneurial skills led her to becoming the CEO of a professional women's soccer league, the Halifax Tides Football Club. The company consists of Courtney Sherlock, CEO and founder, Val Malone, president, Amit Batra, sporting director, Louis Page, head coach, Kennedy Herman, coaching staff, Danae Latrue Davis, director of marketing, Harish Padrak, Chief Business Officer, and Ali Pedvis, the Business Development Manager, all of whom bring a high level of professionalism and skill set that will lead the team to many successes. Madam Speaker, I ask all members of the Nova Scotia Legislature to join me in congratulating Courtney Sherlock and her team on this tremendous endeavor, and I expect all Nova Scotians to come out and to support this new team. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Clayton Park.
West.
West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today I rise to recognize the East Coast Ukrainian Association for their outstanding contribution to our community, particularly through the efforts in organizing the East Coast Ukrainian Festival, Unbroken Ukraine. The ongoing war in Ukraine has left many in need, and understanding the gravity of this situation, the East Coast Ukrainian Association, along with wonderful local artists and volunteers, came together to raise funds for those suffering from injuries due to the ongoing war. Madam Speaker, this year's festival featured Bar Vinok, whose traditional Ukrainian dancers captivated attendees with their amazing costumes and talent, showcasing the rich cultural heritage that the association so proudly preserves and promotes. Madam Speaker, I would like to ask that the House join me in recognizing and celebrating the important work that they are doing and the difference it is making in the lives of those affected by the war in Ukraine. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to make an introduction relative to my member's statement.
Please do.
Joining us in the West Gallery today is Marius Van Leeuwen, who has been my constituency assistant since 2021. Welcome.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Madam Speaker, as we all know, the true work of an MLA and community is a team effort with our constituency assistants. Today marks a transition in the Halifax Citadel Sable Island constituency office as Marius Van Leeuwen moves on to their next challenge. I was lucky to hire Marius in 2021, and together we learned how to manage a constituency office, spending our first month sharing one singular desk. We have been through a lot since then: constituent advocacy, meetings, email, queer forums, community events, and more. And I was often left in awe and extreme gratitude at Marius' skill and ability to execute things so flawlessly. Whenever and wherever people spoke to me about Marius, it was to sing their praises. I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention my equal measure of gratitude for the endless laughter and moments of absolute joy. From drag queen story time to karaoke to the Queen's Medal ceremonies, there was nothing that Marius couldn't tackle, and was vibes on point too. Madam Speaker, I could not have asked for a stronger support person as I entered the political world. And Marius, I know that wherever your journey takes you, you'll keep being the sparkly and utterly amazing you that any workplace, but more honestly, the whole world, is so lucky to have.
I recognize the honourable member for Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to express my congratulations to the Knoll United Church, which is celebrating 150 years of ministry. It was in Knoll that I first started my journey as an ordained minister in 1972. And it was a learning curve in many ways. A city boy being thrown into the world, yeah, I learned a lot. But it was a blessing in many ways. I was the minister when they celebrated their 100th anniversary, and I was honored to be invited back to speak on August the 4th at their 150th. Many people have passed, but a few faces were still familiar. Madam Speaker, I want to express my admiration for the effort to keep this church open and for the ministry to continue. I want to thank them for helping me grow as a person and also as a clergy person. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Clare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to welcome the Littlebrook Distilling Company to our area, a distillery offering unique artisanal spirits. Dan Surette, one of the proprietors of Vin Maison Musifis, described this new venture as his passion project. Together with his wife, Ashley Beaton, the couple is particularly interested in sourcing as much of their raw materials as they can from our area, always with a focus on sustainability and excellence. With these priorities in mind, they have so far launched a line of unique spirits, including a wild dandelion gin. The couple has also opened a small bistro serving traditional Acadian dishes and dishes from other cultures. I ask that all members join me in congratulating Dan Surette and Ashley Beaton on opening Littlebrook Distilling Company and wish them well in their future endeavors. Merci.
I recognize the honourable member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to congratulate the girls New Waterford Dodgers. The New Waterford hosted the 17 and under girls Tier 2 provincial championships from August 30th to September 1st. The teams that competed in the provincials were the New Waterford Dodgers, North Nova, Hammonds Plains Greens, Hammonds Plains Yellow, and Hants North. The camaraderie between the girls was special to watch, Madam Speaker. Before the opening ceremonies, the girls from all the teams took to the middle of the baseball diamond and danced their hearts away, cheering each other on to multiple songs and getting the crowd all wild and crazy. It was fantastic. And no one was having as much fun as those girls, let me tell you. They made memories that will last a lifetime. I asked the House to join me in congratulating the New Waterford Dodgers on becoming the provincial champions after a 15-4 win against North Nova in Antigonish. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Guysborough-Trackney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to congratulate Kerry Campbell of Manchester on the success of his new business, Castaway Cafe, on the Guysborough waterfront. Kerry and his family moved to Guysborough County from British Columbia 2 years ago, and he wanted to get involved in the community. He saw a need for a cafe where people can gather for coffee, events, or just have a quick lunch. Kerry was able to partner with the Guysborough Waterfront Association, rent a space in the historic Jost Building. Since opening in May, Castaway Cafe has been serving up lattes, teas, coffees, and their signature grilled cheese sandwiches. They even host open mic nights, including one of the Road to Stanfest concerts. A few weeks ago, Kerry opened an additional business next door. The Harbour Grill offers quick service burgers, hot dogs, and daily specials. Madam Speaker, when someone opens a business and wants to work with the community and its residents, it can flourish. That is the case for Kerry and his growing Castaway Cafe. Congratulations, Kerry, and we wish you every success as you continue to grow your business. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Northside Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I rise to give tribute to the life of Ambrose White. Ambrose was a husband, a father, a godfather, a grandfather, a brother, uncle, and most of all, a friend to many people, and an exceptional educator. I got to know Ambrose during my time on the Cape Breton Victoria Regional School Board, where he served many roles, including Coordinator of Student Services, Director of Operations, and finishing off with Superintendent when he retired. Ambrose retired in 2013 after 40 years of distinguished service. I had so much respect and admiration for Ambrose. He had an uncanny way to calm a situation and also to diffuse a situation. And he'll be missed by everyone who had the pleasure of knowing him. And I would like to send condolences to his family and friends and wish them all the best. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Cumberland North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm honored to recognize Senator Quinn and lawyer Lyle Skinner for their exceptional work on the Chignecto Isthmus project. In May, I had the opportunity to meet with them both in Ottawa, where we discussed the critical importance of this infrastructure for Nova Scotia. Their dedication to protecting and improving the Chignecto Isthmus was evident and deeply appreciated. Additionally, I had the pleasure of meeting with the Senator again this summer in Amherst. During the visit, he further demonstrated their commitment to the project by engaging directly with local stakeholders and addressing community concerns. Their ongoing efforts to ensure the safety and stability of this vital corridor and gateway are commendable and reflect unwavering support for our region. After the meeting in Amherst, I had the pleasure of taking them on a personal tour of the dikes in my Jeep. We had a lot of fun, but more seriously showed them the areas of weakness, the greatest areas of weakness. So thank you again to Senator Quinn and lawyer Lyle Skinner. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction relative to my member statement.
Please do.
In the West Gallery today, I am pleased to welcome Truly Love to the House.
I recognize the honourable member of Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Madam Speaker, today I am pleased to welcome Truly Loved as the constituency assistant for Halifax Citadel Sable Island. She is a Dalhousie graduate with a double major in political science and gender and women's studies. Truly moved from Grand Prairie, Alberta to Halifax in 2018. As a teenager in Alberta, she advocated for 2S LGBTQIA+ spaces and acceptance and served on the Grand Prairie Pride Society. She has worked in queer spaces throughout her time in Halifax. In 2019, she worked to revive Dal Out, Dalhousie's 2S LGBTQIA+ society, and was acting president for 3 years. Truly was also a member of the Youth Project Youth Board and was a co-chair for 2 years. In July 2024, she was the parade coordinator for Halifax Pride. Truly has always been very concerned with connected with student politics, holding the office of Vice President Internal, as well as working at the Nova Scotia Public Interest Research Group. She's looking forward to further her education and continue her work with community. I know her warmth and professionalism will serve the constituents of Halifax Citadel Sable Island well, and I ask all members to welcome her.
I recognize the honourable member for Cumberland South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to congratulate the Age of Sail Museum in Port Greville on their 30th anniversary. The museum is operated by Greville Shipbuilding Museum Society, which is dedicated to the preservation and conservation of the lumbering and shipbuilding history in the Parisbrook shore. Incorporated in 1992, the society is made up of a board of local volunteers who are selflessly dedicated to the good of the community and the mandate of the society, which is the museum honors the shore, centering around lumbering and shipbuilding, following the process from stump to ship and the power of wind and wave. Please join me in congratulating the Age of Sail on its 30th anniversary and thank all the dedicated volunteers that maintain and bring this life to an important part of history in Cumberland and Nova Scotia. The celebration starts at the museum on September 21st at 1 p.m. Hope to see you there. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member of Cold Harbour, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize Steve Hartland, a genuine community hero. Steve has battled many health issues over the years and is still fighting his battle with cancer. As a 25-year veteran with the Canadian military and now a commissioner at CFB Shearwater, Steve travels along the stretch of highway known as the Highway of Heroes, and on his drives took note of the trash that litters the side of the roads. The former infantryman's idea involved boots on the ground. Starting in May of this year, on his days off, you can find Steve with his orange vest and work gloves on the stretch of road between Portland and Pleasant Streets, bagging up trash. I can attest to that because I observed him from our office window overlooking Highway 101. His goal was to have that stretch of road spick and span by August 17th for the annual Highway of Heroes motorcycle ride from Shearwater to Truro, but he's still determined to continue his work even if his health allows. Madam Speaker, we thank and recognize Steve Hartland for being the hero like those he is determined to honor. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Needham.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize school board members and trustees, past and present, that have served and continue to serve their communities. Elected members are everyday folks who have a passion for learning and are deeply involved in their school community. They care about all students in the education system and are advocates for their region. School boards follow governance rules and request information from the department to help close the gaps in their respective schools. They have discussions that are public, and their decisions are made collectively. They have requests from the minister or from the department on things like prioritizing schools, literacy and math support, staffing levels, and needs per region. So I would like all members to join me in thanking school board members and trustees for dedicating their time and energy to make sure that our students in the education system thrive and are successful.
I recognize the honourable member for Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations on your election to the Speaker's chair. Madam Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the Polar Bear Express ice cream shop for their 25th summer in business. Throughout the years, the ice cream shop has employed dozens of local students, resulting in thousands of delicious scoops for patrons. Earlier this summer, owner Rosalind Staples celebrated the 25th anniversary with a fun family event that included children's games, a mini petting zoo, prizes, giveaways, and live music. Proceeds from the sales of the day were generously donated to the Nova Scotia chapter of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, benefiting their Ice Cream for Wishes campaign. I ask all members of the Legislative Assembly to join me in congratulating Rosalind and all their staff, past and present, for their delicious contributions to our community. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Armdale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yesterday marks a special day as students, parents, teachers, and school staff being a new year school. It's a time filled with excitement, hope, and anticipation. Madam Speaker, let's support one another, create safe environment, and recognize the effort of those who make our school a place of learning and opportunity for all. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
Madam Speaker, for several years, the residents of Reserve Mines and my office have been advocating for a crosswalk light to help residents cross the street safely to the post office. For this reason, we were excited to announce that on May 2nd, that long-awaited crosswalk light became operational. I want to take this moment to thank the residents of Reserve Mines and the postal workers for their continued advocacy and determination to create a safer crossing for pedestrians.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize an incredible individual in our community, Alyssa Thomas, the owner and director and coach of Studio 26 Dance Company. At Studio 26, they have created a vibrant environment that encourages creativity and discipline, helping countless young children develop their skills, build self-confidence, and express their creativity. As one of the most diverse dance schools in Atlantic Canada, Alyssa has made it her priority to embrace, incorporate, and celebrate all cultures. Along with being a director and coach at Studio 26, Alyssa has also spent time mentoring youth in various churches, directing praise dance ministries. Madam Speaker, I ask all members to join me in acknowledging and applauding Alyssa Thomas for her outstanding work and invaluable impact on youth. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Bedford Basin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's a delight to recognize the latest achievement of Lisa Drader Murphy. In 1998, she brought her talent and enthusiasm to Nova Scotia. Now, many of us have had the pleasure of wearing her comfortable, stylish, and proudly Canadian-made clothing. Her store in Sunnyside Mall in Bedford is very close to my constituency office, and I will admit it is a frequent source of temptation. Lisa has been recognized as one of Atlantic Canada's 25 most powerful women in business, and she is all that. And now she is officially an icon. This summer, Lisa was honored with the Designer Icon Award at the 2024 Halifax Fashion Week. Lisa continues to create and inspire in the East Coast fashion world and beyond, and I'm delighted to recognize her today.
I recognize the honourable member for Queens.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to acknowledge Queens County Olympian Sarah Mitten. Canada's first ever world medalist in women's shot put, Sarah has continued to impress with her relentless pursuit of excellence and commitment to her sport. And in Paris this past summer, she participated with Team Canada at her second Olympic Games. Qualifying for the finals with her first qualifying throw, we watched her with such pride as she beat her Olympic debut finish in Tokyo. While her medal dreams did not happen at this time, she showed the world how to handle the ups and downs of sports with grace and good sportsmanship. And in typical Sarah style, she has already earned gold and silver at competitions post-Olympics. Madam Speaker, please join me in applauding this incredible Nova Scotian athlete whose impressive accomplishments in her sport are not over yet. We are so proud of you, Sarah, and look forward to LA in 2028. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Kings South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations on your election. Madam Speaker, I rise today to honor and recognize Brian Kelly as he steps into early retirement after 30 years of dedicated service as the owner and operator of Muddy's Convenience in Wolfville. Local convenience stores are a vital part of life in a small community, where people drop in for a liter of milk, a newspaper, or just a popsicle on a warm day. Brian is known for his warm smile and unwavering commitment to his customers every day, come rain or shine. Over the years, he has watched generations grow, fostering a unique bond with his loyal patrons. Muddy's has become more than just a store. It's a beloved institution. Muddy's Convenience under Brian will forever hold a special place in our community. I ask all members of the Nova Scotia House of Assembly to join me in thanking Brian Kelly for his incredible service to his many customers over 3 decades and wish him all the best in retirement. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Madam Speaker, as students and staff head back to school this week, one Dartmouth North resident is staying home because she retired. Joanne Dooley has worked as an EPA and support staff person at schools in Dartmouth North for 27 years. During that time, Miss Joanne, as she is known, generously and tirelessly supported students with special needs at John Martin Junior High. Last school year, I had an opportunity to take a tour of the school with Joanne and 2 of her students, and I got to witness firsthand her incredible love and dedication to them. Joanne is also an active member of the Dartmouth North community in general. On any given Sunday, one will find her as a licensed lay minister and warden at Holy Trinity Emmanuel Anglican Church. And if the church is hosting any kind of event in the hall, she will be in the kitchen working the canteen where the best hot dogs ever with fried onions can be found. Joanne is a wonderful person, dedicated to her students, her friends, her church, and her community. And I ask the whole House of Assembly to join me in thanking her for her 27 years of service to the kids of our community and wishing her a happy and restful retirement.
I recognize the honourable member for Hants East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to congratulate Wyatt Sanford, who has recently won the bronze medalist in boxing at the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. Wyatt, your dedication, hard work, and fighting spirit have brought immense pride to Nova Scotia and all of Canada. This medal is a testament to your perseverance and the embodiment of the Olympic spirit. You've inspired us all with your courage and determination. And just last week, we had a parade to welcome him in, and it was very well attended. And on behalf of all Nova Scotians, I offer you our heartfelt congratulations. We're so proud of you, and we look forward to your future successes.
Thank you for representing us with such honor and making us all proud. Congratulations, Wyatt. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to show my support for all the kids that had their first day of school yesterday, to the ones that enjoyed it and to the ones that didn't. As a dad of 2 young boys, I have a bit of both. To my 6-year-old Odin, who had a tough day, again this morning, Dad will be home soon and things will look up. Just surround yourself with your good friends. To my 10-year-old Eris, who said yesterday was awesome. I know it's because you scored 2 goals at lunchtime soccer and not for what you learned in the classroom, but I'll take it. And to all the kids, I wish you a very successful year. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Cumberland North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today I rise to recognize and bring honor to the entrepreneurs who operate businesses in Cumberland North along Route 366 between Tidnish and Pugwash. Since early April, these dedicated entrepreneurs and their staff have continued to operate their businesses despite the severe traffic disruption caused by the closure of the Oxley Creek culvert. The now 5-month road closure has meant lengthy detours for locals and overall avoidance by tourists. While some of the businesses like Knick-Knack Farms rely primarily on local customers who have still managed to find their way to the U-Pick and purchase beef, others like the Amershore Country Store and Amershore Country Inn, Seven Gables Bed and Breakfast, Wine Garden Estates depend very heavily on tourists. And unfortunately, there have been far, far fewer this season. I would ask my colleagues to join me in encouraging all the business owners along Route 366 to remain a commitment to their enterprises with an optimistic eye to when the culvert replacement is finally completed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Antigonish.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to congratulate the Eastern 2.0 Bombers on capturing the Under-13 Eastern Canadian Softball Championships, which were held in Antigonish from August 22nd to 25th. The Bombers played the Placentia Lions in the gold medal game, with the Bombers winning 17-14. It was an exciting game for the home team. Neil Landry was recognized as top pitcher for the tournament, and Manton Austin was tournament MVP. Antigonish was well represented at the tournament by 2 exceptional teams, the Bombers and the St. Joseph's Chiefs. All of the spectators were treated to exciting, well-played games by these teams. It was certainly a great weekend to spend at the Sandlot. Thank you to all the organizers, volunteers, coaches, players, families, and friends. Hosting this tournament took a lot of work from all of you, and it showed. I can attest all of us in attendance were treated to a well-run tournament and exceptional softball. Madam Speaker, I ask all members of this House to congratulate the Eastern 2.0 Bombers on winning the Eastern Canadian Softball Championship. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Fairview Clayton Park.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's with a blend of sadness and hope that my community marked the decommissioning of Fairview United Church after 85 years of service to the Fairview Clayton Park community back in May. This church has not only been a place of worship, but a vibrant center for community life, hosting the Fairview Resource Center, the Second Fairview Scout Troop, numerous community groups, and memorable annual pancake suppers. Though this was an emotional conclusion, it also led to a promising new chapter. On October 1st, Fairview United will merge with Rockingham United to form Hillside United Church. This exciting new merger will be commemorated with its first service featuring guest preacher Reverend Michael Blair, the General Secretary of the United Church of Canada. Madam Speaker, let us acknowledge the significant contributions of Fairview United to our community and celebrate the new beginnings that await with Hillside United. Congratulations to all those involved in making this transition a beacon of unity and hope. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member of Kings West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction.
Please do.
Thank you. It's a little different introduction, but I'm very pleased to introduce to the House and now to all Nova Scotia that our 3rd grandson, Josiah Darian Wade, was born yesterday morning. And he was born yesterday, but I didn't know a name to introduce him yesterday. Something about having to tell the family first before I told all you guys. But anyway, I'm just very pleased and honored, and we're a very proud family, and just wanted to introduce, she's watching now, so I wanted to introduce everyone to my new grandson. Thank you.
On behalf of the host, we wish you congratulations on your new son. Grandson. Well, my apologies. I was speaking to her as she was watching, but congratulations to you as well, Chris. I know you've put a lot of work into that birth. I recognize the honourable member for Glace Bay Dominion.
Madam Speaker, in August, I had the pleasure of presenting a celebration certificate to Miss Cassie Cote, who at 100 years young stands as a beacon of resilience and love, nurturing 3 generations of an incredible family. Born in 1924, she witnessed a century of change from Great Depression to the digital age. Yet, through it all, her greatest achievement has been her family. She raised 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and 10 great-grandchildren. Church has been a constant backdrop in Cassie's life, and her presence in the pews means that she was known by everybody in the parish. And not just as a regular attendee, Cassie was a wonderful volunteer. Her dedication to her faith and to others is evident in all she has done over the years. As we celebrate Cassie's centennial, we're not just honoring a milestone, Madam Speaker, but a legacy of love, strength that continue to inspire generations to come. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member of North Side Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise also today to give tribute to the life of William Billy Burchell. Sydney Mines and the Nova Scotia legal community lost an icon this summer. Billy was well known in our community for all of his volunteerism and hard work. Billy practiced all types of law, but his specialty was in the area of criminal law. And Billy was a formidable opponent to many prosecutors in Nova Scotia in the courtroom. I had the opportunity to attend Billy's service this summer at the John J. Nugent Fire Hall, and I heard firsthand the stories of Billy's ability to move our community forward. And one such example that I'd like to share is when he never took the status quo as given. When they were building the fire hall, Billy said, it's not big enough. We need to bump the building. So they went back for more funding and got the funding through, and the building is now affectionately called Burchell's Bump. So my condolences go out to his wife, Margaret, daughter, Miriam, and the rest of his family. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My apologies, but there is only allowed 2 statements per day. Well, absolutely. I recognize the honourable member of Halifax Needham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction. In the West Gallery, we have visiting with us Karen Laughlin-Levitt, or Leavitt, sorry. And they are the president of QP Local 955 from the Strait Richmond area. So we want to welcome you to the House today and joining us. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Waverley Fall River, Beaver Bank.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I want to recognize a talented singer-songwriter and Lockview High School alumna from Fall River. Dee Dee Austin has had a tremendous year so far, including being featured in the 2024 Road to the Juno series. Dee Dee was also selected as the Outstanding Indigenous Artist for Tell Me Why I Am So Different, which was presented by the Indigenous Music Office. As well, she won the Dance Recording of the Year and Fans' Choice Video of the Year at the 2024 East Coast Music Awards held right here in Halifax. Madam Speaker, I ask all members of the legislature to please join me in congratulating Dee Dee for all her success and to wish her the very best in her outstanding musical career. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Victoria the Lakes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and
as everybody else has mentioned before, congratulations on your position as Speaker. Madam Speaker, on October 19th, municipal elections will be taking place across Nova Scotia. In Victoria County, 5 of the 8 present councillors will not be re-offering. I take great pride and honour in recognizing Warden Bruce Morrison, Deputy Warden Larry Duffany, and Councillors Paul McNeil, Barbara Longva, and Norman MacDonald. I want to thank them for their years of service and for all they've done for the municipality and beyond. Warden Morrison and Deputy Warden Duffany and Councillor McNeil have been in municipal politics as long or sometimes longer than I've been an MLA. To Councillors Perla McLeod, Fraser Patterson, and Jackie Organ, and all those that will be putting their name forward, I wish you the very best. When you're elected, I will certainly do my best to help you in your role as councillor. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand today to recognize the Hospice Thrift Store located on Glenvale Drive in Sackville. The Hospice Thrift Store is a social enterprise of Hospice Halifax. It is a unique shop that provides affordable clothing and household items and at the same time supports the work of the hospice organization. All profits go directly to hospice, whose mission is to support end-of-life care services in our community. A unique shopping experience that allows you to purchase with a purpose. Every year, Hospice Halifax welcomes approximately 150 terminally ill patients facing end of life, including vulnerable seniors, people living with physical disabilities, and those who are precariously housed. The Hospice Store has a devoted team of volunteers from all over HRM who are an integral part of this team. They work alongside staff members to provide a welcoming and supportive environment for their customers. Madam Speaker, please join me in recognizing the Hospice Thrift Store for their incredible contribution helping to enhance end-of-life care in HRM.
I recognize the honourable member for Colchester North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and like others, I would like to congratulate you on your new position. Madam Speaker, I rise today, excuse me, I rise today to congratulate Irene Cook on her 105th birthday. Irene was born on July 20th, 1990. She was the only girl in a family of 4, and Irene was married to Lloyd Cook and lived on Birch Hill in Bass River, where she raised her family. Madam Speaker, when I was a child growing up in Bass River, Irene was part of a group of mothers who looked out for us kids. She had 3 children of her own to raise, plus she was a school teacher, but she was always there for any of us. Irene is the last of these community mothers. She went to a nursing home when she was 96, but believe it or not, she made her own homemade bread till she was 95. Madam Speaker, Irene is a special lady. She means a great deal to me because of how she assisted me through my teenage years. She had a significant impact on my life, and I cherish Irene Cook, and I hope to be able to visit her on her 106th birthday. Thank you.
The honourable member of Halifax Needham begs leave to do an introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like everyone to draw their attention to the West Gallery. We are also joined by Mary Fougere, the CUPE Education Coordinator, and we want to thank you for being here today.
Where we only have 26 seconds remaining, we will patiently wait for QP. Order. Orders of the day, oral questions put by members to the Minister. I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in southwest Nova Scotia, particularly in the Clare region, we have a very volatile and dangerous situation where the Department of Fisheries and Ocean Canada and the provincial government have totally dropped the ball in dealing with illegal fishing of lobsters and illegal buying outside of the season. Don't just take my word for it, Madam Speaker. The fishermen themselves are saying this. Just ask Colin Sproul, who's quoted as saying it's incumbent on the provincial government to stop the purchasing. Both levels of government have done nothing to protect these communities. Madam Speaker, instead of only pointing the finger and laying blame, will this Premier step up and ensure there's adequate enforcement on the commercial buying side to stop the market of illegal lobsters being caught?
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I've certainly spent quite a bit of time in the region over the past couple of months speaking to residents and being on wharves and speaking to those that are making their livelihood from the ocean as well. So I certainly understand. I've written to the Prime Minister to ask them to kind of get with it on the enforcement side of things through DFO. As a province, we've doubled our resources for enforcement on the things that are within our control in that area, but I certainly understand the concerns of the residents, and I share them. So I would ask the member to join us in asking the federal government to really step it up on their enforcement through DFO.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition with his first supplementary.
Madam Speaker, myself and the member for Clare have been out months, even a year ahead of this government in asking the federal government to step up. But DFO's authority stops at the wharf. We do not have illegal fishing without an illegal buyer's market. And not only has this Premier stepped back on the strong policy of the previous government to have a zero-tolerance policy toward illegal commercial buyers that get caught, they have also, despite the Premier's claim, cut the budget of fisheries provincially. They've cut the FTEs in their department, and he says he has doubled the amount of enforcement agents on the ground. That is false, according to his own budgetary documents. Will the Premier step up, take responsibility instead of only pointing the finger, and understand that the province has a role in stopping illegal buying of illegal...
Order. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I will assure the member that this government has stepped up. The province is stepping up. We understand the issues. Madam Speaker, the reality is we need the support of the federal government on this, and it would be helpful if the member from Yarmouth, from the region, would just acknowledge the fact that the federal government has a significant role to play here, and to get on his Liberal cousins in Ottawa and tell them to get with the program, step up for Nova Scotians, put the politics aside, put Nova Scotians first, just like we are on this side of the House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition with his final question.
I asked the Premier to look at the public record on this. Who was out over a year ago? Myself and the member for Clare pushing the federal government to step up on this. But it's also the province. The Premier has cut the fisheries budget. There is no local enforcement on the ground to deal with the buying of illegal lobsters. He's cut the fisheries budget. There's no more enforcement officers. He's cut the FTEs in the department, and he's willing to sit back while crime runs rampant and point the finger and not take responsibility. We have called on DFO and the provincial government to form a joint task force to deal with a situation that is dangerous, where lives have been lost, where buildings have been burnt. And will the Premier accept his responsibility, step up, increase enforcement, and bring back the zero-tolerance policy?
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to assure the member that we understand the issue and we're concerned about it. I only wish that the member was as right as he is passionate. It would be good if he was right on it. The fact of the matter is, it was a previous government that took away the dedicated fisheries officers in this province. We have stepped up on the law enforcement, doubled the law enforcement resources in the area. We really need the federal government to get on board on this one. The member had an opportunity when he was at Justin Trudeau fundraiser over the last couple of weeks to talk to the Prime Minister. I wish he would take it up with him at those opportunities, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the NDP.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yesterday, thousands of children, teachers, and education workers across the province returned to the classroom for another school year. in the wake of the Auditor General's recent report that found that instances of school violence had increased by 60% over the past years. This was no surprise to families, staff, and educators who have been raising alarms for years, but it was somehow a surprise to this government, who, while this report was being written, maintained that school violence rates were stable. And so my question for the Premier is, why did his government ignore this growing problem until the Auditor General released her report?
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And everyone has a right to expect that their children will be safe at school, that the people who work in our schools, our teachers and other professionals who work in our schools, are safe when they're in their places of employment. We all want that as Nova Scotians. That's not a political thing. That's just a Nova Scotian. That's a human thing, Madam Speaker. It's something we all want. The reality is that violence and crime in our communities exists in our society. It's finding its way into our schools. We're taking action as a province to make sure that our schools are safe places for everyone who is in those buildings, and we'll continue to do that, Madam Speaker. This is something that all Nova Scotians want, particularly us on this side of the government.
I recognize the Leader of the NDP.
That violence has been rising, Madam Speaker, for 7 years, and yet last year, this government said it was stable. The Canadian Union of Public Employees, who represent thousands of school support staff across the province, have attributed this rise in school violence in part to the 2018 dissolution of school boards and the attending loss of community oversight, transparency, and decision-making ability, and I'll table that. With alarming statistics around school violence in the AG report, overcrowded schools, delays in school capital investments, families deserve transparency and a seat at the table, but this government has now abandoned their 2021 campaign promise to reinstate these elected school boards with no explanation. The government previously described school boards as a critical check and balance in the system.
Order. Would anyone like to respond to that? We will be sticking to the 50 seconds to have the question out. I recognize the Leader of the NDP for her final supplementary.
What? Wow. Madam Speaker, it is shameful that this Premier, once again...
Order.
I can't...
So, what I'd like to do is just explain the rules. The rules are you have 50 seconds to get the question out, or 45. Sorry. I would just like to explain the rules to you. I recognize the Honourable Leader of the NDP.
Madam Speaker, this Premier will answer one question a day from each opposition party, and I'm sorry if he doesn't get the question mark in the end, but it is unbelievable that this Premier, who has decided to break yet another election promise, not to reinstate elected school boards, will not even stand in his place and answer the question, which I will pose very clearly with a question mark in the time allotted. Why have you broken the promise to Nova Scotian families and students when violence has been up 60%, when school capital is failing across this province to reinstate elected school boards, which you hammered this leader for incessantly in his time in office?
I ask going forward that the member speaks through me, and that includes everyone in the room. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the safety of our schools is incredibly important to all Nova Scotians. It would be disingenuous for somebody to suggest that any Nova Scotian doesn't want students to be safe at school. It would be disingenuous for any Nova Scotian to suggest that any Nova Scotian doesn't want the people who work in those buildings to be safe. Of course we want that. We're working with the SACs. The SACs will be meeting this month with the province to talk about a code of conduct and what's possible. We all have a role in protecting students. We don't need to scare people what's happening in our province. We take the safety of our students very seriously, and we'll continue to do that, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. We have a Premier that is all show and no substance, who will stand in this House, lay blame and point the finger at everybody else, including past governments, without recognizing his own responsibility. We've got a volatile situation in southwest Nova Scotia that the province, according to the fishermen, according to the laws of the land, have a role to play in terms of dealing with the illegal purchasing of illegally caught lobster. This government has backed off the zero tolerance policy for commercial buyers that are caught. There have been no charges under this government for those folks that are being caught purchasing illegal lobsters, unlike previous governments that actually charged them. My question to the Premier, I'm with him on blaming DFO for part of it. Will he accept his responsibility and help deal with this catastrophic situation?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank the member opposite for the question. Facts matter. And the fact of the matter is that illegal harvesting of lobster starts in the water. And as a province, we have zero jurisdiction for enforcing on the water illegal harvesting. That falls entirely on DFO. And to say and to criticize the fact that the province is not doing their part, I take issue with that. We have done absolutely everything under our purview to ensure the safety of our most valuable resource, and we will continue to do so, and we will continue to call on DFO to do their job and keep our province safe.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition with his first supplementary.
Madam Speaker, the illegal fishing starts on the water. DFO has dropped the ball. We are out a year ahead of this government asking them to step up and do something about it. It ends at the wharf. It ends where those illegal lobsters are being bought and sold to other jurisdictions illegally. There have been no charges from this government for those that are buying illegal lobster. They have cut the amount of FTEs that enforce these laws on the land. The most they've done is pass a resolution in here that will do nothing about the issue other than give the Premier and the Minister a speaking note on this. Will the Minister, will the Premier commit to having a joint task force of DFO and the provincial government to deal with this issue effectively before somebody else...
Order! I recognize the Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you once again to the member opposite. If the member opposite had done his homework, he would know that there already is a joint task force between the federal government and the Atlantic provinces on illegal and unreported cash sales that leads to that is begat by illegal harvesting. The issue with that task force is that it's led by the feds, and it's again another example of them dropping the ball. That committee has met once after repeated calls from us and our government for them to meet more often. And I also take issue with the fact that he's claiming that they've done everything and we've done nothing in the past year. I will say within 2 weeks of becoming minister, I had a face-to-face meeting with the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans Canada and told her face-to-face that we need help. I wrote a letter on October 17th asking for help. We've done a lot in the last year.
I recognize the Honourable the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Madam Speaker, on housing, we know this Premier is all promise and no progress. He'll talk our ear off about his plan to build 273 public housing units by 2028. But the Premier's plan to double the population will actually bring 170,000 new people into this province by that very time. The Premier is not keeping up with current supply, and he is increasing the demand on our housing system, which is impacting costs, home ownership costs, rent, and homelessness across the province. My question to the Premier is, if he's going to double the population, how come he's not going to double the amount of affordable housing available in this province?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Madam Speaker, we are in an unprecedented build mode as a province. The budget for municipal affairs and housing was $120 million. Now it's over $650 million this year. We are spending money on multiple sides of the whole housing spectrum. For example, we've seen a massive increase in our down payment assistance program, in the uptake of that program, and we're very proud of that, for example. So we're working hard. We've seen a 480% increase in the uptake of that program, and we have people who are extremely pleased. So that's only one example, Madam Speaker. We're working across the spectrum. We're in a massive build in public housing. Some of those units are modular. They're already occupied. We are doing many different things, Madam Speaker. I'm very proud of our record.
Here we go.
Order. Yeah, that one snuck through. I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Madam Speaker, the government brags about how much money they're spending, about the uptake of people who need financial support to deal with this housing market. Does the minister think it's a good thing there's been a 480% increase in people who need support for down payments in this province? This government is contributing to the housing crisis. They are successfully doubling the population, increasing demand on our housing system while supply does not keep up with it. And instead of actually investing in affordable housing units that are effectively being built by the not-for-profit and charitable sectors, this government's investing millions in silly things like Happy Pad that has produced nothing. Can the minister please tell us how much more Adsum House, who've built 25 new units for women and children, could have done with that money for Happy Pad?
I recognize the Honourable Minister for Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Madam Speaker, we're investing in many fronts of different programs, and in terms of Happy Pad, I'm happy to say that we have 37 now in that program, and in fact, recently we had a homeless couple find a place in Happy Pad just in the past week. So we see growth in that program. I believe in that program. Some things take more time than others. That one is growing, and I appreciate the attention being brought to it. Our down payment assistance program, we've changed the program several times to make it more accessible from the program that we had inherited. And I will table, Madam Speaker, a comment from a constituent who said, I really appreciate your help and efforts in getting us this assistance. Without this, our dream of owning a home in Canada would never have become a reality.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Bedford Basin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would ask the Minister to table the remarks there. Madam Speaker, last week I was approached by a longtime Metro resident very concerned about CT scan wait times. You see, this resident had a heart attack 8 years ago. She's now in her late 60s. She had a CT scan of her aortic artery in 2018, and that was supposed to be repeated in 2020. She called in April of 22 to set up an appointment again in January of 23. No luck. She called again last week and was told they are still more than 2 years behind. And yet, when you go to Wait Times Nova Scotia, it indicates 50% of people get their CT scan at the QE2 within 196 days. Why is a woman at risk waiting more than 700 days for her CT scan?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the member for the question. So I don't know about that case specifically, but it is important that people work with their clinicians to understand how risk is stratified, and so I don't have the details specifically about that case, but happy to speak with the member afterwards around the constituents that she mentioned. What I will say is that we've invested very heavily in infrastructure in this province. There was a number of pieces of machinery for diagnostic imaging that were well past their useful life when we formed government. We've invested in CT scan, we've invested in MRIs, we'll continue to do so. We've announced CT scanning capability across this province. There is a SPECT CT that's going to Yarmouth. There is a new PET scanner that's going to Sydney, Queens, other places. So I want to assure the member we are investing in CT scanning capability.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Bedford Basin.
And I know that the Health Minister will acknowledge that some of that CT scan money was in fact replacement money, not new. Part of this woman's concern is that she knows that even when she does get her appointment, it will involve a lengthy wait. And let's be clear, she cannot be seen by a doctor who specializes in her particular genetic issue until she has this test. So failure to ensure timely access to CT scans condemns people who have genetic issues to live in uncertainty. It is not fixing health care. Last election, the PC said they would focus on chronic illness prevention. Timely access to tests is important to prevent healthcare crisis. I'll share that. My question for the minister, when can all Nova Scotians get a timely CT scan?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And when clinicians are using CT scanners and MRIs that are years and years and years and years past their useful life, they break down. So what we've done is we've invested in new technology, making sure our clinicians have state-of-the-art technology to diagnose Nova Scotians in this province. I will say that we've had a 20% increase in MRIs over in this fiscal year of 23-24. There's been an increase of 26% in ultrasound volume and an increase in 30% in our CT volume. So we are taking this very, very seriously. We had a very big hole to dig out of. We are seeing increases in terms of ability to do these scans because of the investments we've made.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Halifax Needham.
Madam Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development. The Halifax region has reported an enrollment growth of over 9,000 students over the past 5 years, and schools are quite literally bursting at the seams. Over 1 year ago, this government committed to building 4 new schools in HRM. However, not only has construction not started, there haven't even been locations announced. So can the minister please tell me and all Nova Scotians, where are these 4 schools going, and when will there be shovels in the ground?
I recognize the Honourable Minister for Education and Early Childhood Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. So we know there's growth in HRM, there's growth across the province, and Madam Speaker, we are addressing this growth with a historic $1 billion capital plan investment in education. Madam Speaker, not only does that investment encompass 4 new schools in HRM, and I very much look forward to introducing and announcing the location of those schools when the opportunity arises. But Madam Speaker, it goes beyond just that, because for the first time ever, we also have a capital plan that incorporates midterm and short-term responses to our capital growth needs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right. I recognize the Honourable Member for Halifax Needham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, Nova Scotians deserve an answer, and that was not one. We have money being spent, but nowhere's where that money's going to be, and no answer to the question that I just asked. Many are concerned by the ongoing lack of transparency in the rollout of new school locations. While these HRM schools are being held in perpetual limbo, new school projects in many government-held ridings are quickly moving forward. In 2016, this premier criticized the then Liberal government for prioritizing school construction in their own ridings, calling it schools for votes. So families deserve to know how and why school capital projects are being prioritized. Why does this government insist on making these decisions in the dark?
I recognize the Minister for Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. So I truly wish that prior governments had had the foresight to purchase and acquire and establish land opportunities in the massively, rapidly growing HRM. That didn't happen. So our ability to respond quickly in HRM is very different than in other areas of the province. That being said, Madam Speaker, we are doing everything we can to move forward quickly with growth in HRM, and that is why our modulars are so important. So, Madam Speaker, in HRM, we've delivered modulars in Sackville Heights Elementary, in George B. Vanier Junior High School, Millwood High School, Harry R. Hamilton, Ellendale Junior High, Elizabeth Sutherland School, Bedford South Elementary School. We've got Fairview Junior High, C.P. Allen, West Bedford, and more, Madam Speaker. We are addressing HRM growth needs.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Timberley Prospect.
In April of 22, I asked the Minister of Education to provide an update on the status of the purchase of land in Brunello Estates for the purposes of a new school. In HRCE's projections of exponential growth in enrollment showed that a new school was warranted in 2022, and I'll table that. While the Minister was non-committal at the time for any new capital projects, I appreciate the meeting that we had, and subsequently the purchase of that 11 acres that I pointed out. My question to the Minister is why, since the land has been purchased several months ago, has the capital plan not been updated to commit to a new school in the plan, given her department has quickly built 2 more portables at the middle school, another portable at the elementary school, and obviously a long list of other portables all over HRM.
I recognize the Minister of Education.
So, Madam Speaker, we've gone from an allegation that we're not addressing HRM growth needs to an acknowledgement that, in fact, we are. And can we move more quickly on the projects that we've announced? Madam Speaker, there is a process for site selection and for identifying exactly where our schools go, and we are following that process, Madam Speaker. More than anyone, I will be incredibly excited to provide details to the public when we're in a position to do that. But, Madam Speaker, we are not waiting for that to happen to address the growth needs that exist in HRM. We are building schools already in HRM and continuing those capital projects that are already underway. We are installing modulars, and our work continues, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member of Timberley Prospect.
Madam Speaker, why are we delaying the capital plan in opposition areas when we know that it takes time and often years to build a new school? The pressure will only grow, and the pending approval in the BLT area of multi-residential units, the next phase of Brunello and Lovett Lake underway. And after I visited the schools before the House session, I was aware that there were the portables put in place, but the administration tells me that the class caps will not be met. There is not actually enough portables built at the middle school. So I'll ask the Minister to at least approve more portables so that they do have the class caps in place. And when will the new school be ultimately approved out of the 4 for HRM, since the land is built for the BLT area?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to reiterate to our to HRM families and communities that we absolutely have prioritized addressing the capital needs and addressing their school growth needs. So, Madam Speaker, in case the member opposite didn't hear when I explained this previously, Madam Speaker, we've introduced modulars that have delivered 12 classrooms in Sackville Heights Elementary, 12 classrooms in George P. Vanu, 12 classrooms in Millwood High School. We have delivered 6 classrooms in AR Hamilton, 12 classrooms in Ellavale Junior High, 8 classrooms in Elizabeth Sutherland, 4 classrooms in Bedford South. We have 8 classrooms in Fairview Junior High, 8 classrooms in CP Allen, 12 classrooms in West Bedford. Madam Speaker, we are meeting Halifax's growth needs.
I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And on a totally different subject, seniors in our province rely on the Seniors Pharmacare program to access the medication they desperately need to stay healthy. I recently heard from a constituent who, after being enrolled for over 25 years, found themselves unexpectedly removed from the program due to a missed payment notice. Despite their intention to stay enrolled, the impact of this error has forced them to pay for critical medication out of pocket and place significant financial stress on them. My question to the Premier is, what steps is the government taking to ensure that our seniors are not penalized so harshly for missing one payment, particularly when it's due to circumstances beyond their control?
I recognize the Honourable Minister for Health and Wellness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the member for the question. So again, not aware of this issue that she raises. It's helpful when we know in advance so we can work with her and the constituent to see if there's anything we can do to support. We're very focused on the Seniors Pharmacare program. We've been able to not change the amount of premiums or copay that are involved. It is a very expensive and expanding program. We recognize that seniors depend heavily on this program, and so we continue to find new and innovative ways. We've had over 120 medications added to the Seniors Pharmacare program in the number of months in order to be able to serve our seniors better. So I would just encourage the member to certainly reach out, and we will see what we can do to help, but this is really not the place to resolve the issue. Sure.
I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it wasn't just one issue, but this is the one I brought forward today. Many seniors live on fixed incomes, and for them, unexpected penalties and wait times can be burdensome. The current penalties of waiting 90 days for re-enrollment and paying a higher premium for 5 years is simply unaffordable for many. And in this case, it contradicts what was just said. Will the Premier commit to reviewing the penalties imposed on seniors for re-enrollment, especially for long-term members of the program, to provide more compassionate and be fair treatment in such cases?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
So I thank the member for the question. So we continue to look at our pharmacy programs across the province, not only seniors pharmacare, but also family pharmacare. We do our very best. It is necessary that people join seniors pharmacare at a certain age, and we do know that there are penalties associated with that. Wherever possible, if there are extenuating circumstances, we do try to work with individuals, but the policy exists so that all Nova Scotians will have access to seniors pharmacare as it's required. So again, when there are special circumstances, and we understand that at times there are, we are open to understanding what is happening with individuals and do our best. But at this time, the parameters around seniors pharmacare will remain unchanged.
I recognize the honourable member for Annapolis.
Madam Speaker, I've stood here dozens of times before advocating for better urgent and emergent care in Annapolis, and I'm here to do it again. Under this government, our emergency room in Annapolis was eliminated. It was replaced with a part-time urgent treatment center. Several constituents have reported to me they're not able to access it. It's nearly impossible. They make multiple calls a day with no access. They make multiple calls a week. Same thing, no access. My question to the Premier or the Health Minister: when will residents of Annapolis see urgent treatment be provided to them in Annapolis? Thank you.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We continue to work in the area in regards to access to care, and certainly the virtual urgent treatment centre that was recently opened. The member, which I don't have today, but certainly I'm happy to table, emailed recently and thanked us for including that site in terms of the urgent treatment centre. We continue to work with the HR that we have, making sure that there are a number of different opportunities for people to access primary care. And so we've done that in Western Zone. We will continue to do that. And, you know, it's very helpful when people in community work with us to help recruit and retain healthcare professionals and look at innovative solutions in order to help us deliver care in the area.
I recognize the honourable member for Annapolis.
Let's be clear. I did email the Health Minister to thank her for adding virtual urgent care to the Middleton location. Constituents I represent expect me to be balanced and fair, and I'll continue to do so. So give credit when it's due, but also be critical when it's due. I'm talking about a completely different location. I'm talking about Annapolis Royal catchment, where no one is able to access urgent treatment care. Closed June 19th, closed June 24th, closed June 28th, closed July 1st, closed July 5th, July 10th, July 22nd, July 24th, August 19th, and it goes on and on. I don't have enough time to mention all the closures of the urgent treatment center in Annapolis. When will residents of Annapolis expect urgent treatment care? Thank you.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
So certainly we continue to work with the staffing levels that we have. We've done a great deal of work around recruitment and retention of healthcare workers. We have had over 300 physicians come to Nova Scotia in the last number of years. We continually look at options. There are a variety of different ways in which people can access care through Virtual Care Nova Scotia. There are primary care clinics. There are community-based pharmacy clinics that can help see people. We know that there is a physician shortage. We continue to work in all areas of the province, and we will continue to do so.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Halifax Citadel Sable Isle.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development. Last year, almost 50% of 2S LGBTQIA+ students reported feeling unsafe at school, and I'll table that. Sadly, this government has refused to make crucial updates to the guidelines for supporting trans and gender nonconforming students, despite the fact that a draft of the updated guidelines was under review last September. Why is this government failing to respond to rising homophobia and transphobia in our schools with the urgency that is needed?
I recognize the Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, thank you, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. Every one of our students has the right to learn and grow in a space where they are welcome and where they are respected and where they belong. And our 2SL excuse me, our 2SL GT, I can't talk today. Our gender diverse students absolutely have that right as well, and we are very much focused on ensuring that we support them in our schools. The question in relation to safety is also incredibly important, and we have significant safety work underway that will help support our gender diverse students and ensure that they, as well as all of our other students, feel safe in their schools. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Madam Speaker, yesterday marked the second new school year since the government began the review of these guidelines. The lack of action by this government has very real effects. Compared to their peers, 2S LGBTQIA+ students are significantly less likely to feel like they belong or can be themselves at school, and only 20% think that their school properly responds to transphobia and homophobia. Why is this government letting another school year go by without supporting and protecting these students?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, staff in education across the province every single day work very hard to ensure that all of our students feel safe and respected in schools. And that goes as well for our 2SL LGBTQIA+ students. Madam Speaker, we have resources in schools and supports in schools that address the specific needs of those students. We have staff in place who are focused on those needs. It goes beyond that, Madam Speaker, as well. To feel included in a school, you need to see yourself represented and reflected. And that's why we have materials in schools that do reflect our diverse communities across the province. Madam Speaker, it's about connection, and that's why we have those resources. It's also about safety, Madam Speaker, and that's why we prioritized our work on safety to ensure all of our students feel safe, respected in our schools.
I recognize the honourable member for Clare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Clearly, the federal minister and their department have failed in their responsibilities, but their authority ends at the wharf, and the provincial government's authority begins on land with the regulating and policing of fish buyers. On August 27, I requested an emergency meeting of the Standing Committee of the Department of Natural Resources and Economic Development with the topic addressing enforcement gaps in illegal fishing in Nova Scotia, with included industry stakeholders, but unfortunately it did not receive unanimous consent. Is the minister in support of convening an emergency meeting of the Standing Committee to discuss the gaps in enforcement?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Fisheries, and my apologies, it seems like the minister's speech is caught on to me. Fisheries and Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank the member opposite for the questions. Not for us on this side to comment on the direction of those committees, but what I will say to that is that for our part, we, on top of continuing to call for DFOs, increased enforcement on the water, in the last year we've increased the fines for our buyers and processors if they're caught with illegally harvested lobsters up to $1 million. We've recently sent 2 letters to our buyers and processors reminding them of their obligations under the Fisheries and Coastal Resource Act to only have lawfully harvested product in their facilities. We're stepping up enforcement efforts on the ground that I can't go into details on because I don't want to give away what we're doing. We've also, as the Premier noted, doubled the RCMP enforcement on the ground. We're doing our part. We need DFO to do theirs.
I recognize the honourable member for Clare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm getting reports of landings in Sonyville boats coming in with 4,000 to 5,000 pounds, while fishermen who have legal licenses are tied up at the wharf watching this happen. I fully agree that DFO and the minister are turning a blind eye to this situation and have abandoned what's going on there. But at the same time, the province does have a role to play. And the fishermen are asking that the minister step in. And I've seen trucks leaving Sonyville, SUVs with trailers with lobsters on the back. There has to be a way to address the illegal sale of lobster, and I'm asking the minister to step forward.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker. Thank the member opposite. I'm glad that we can all agree that DFO is the root of all of this problem here in our province with illegal fishing on the ground. And as I've said earlier, the entire responsibility for getting these lobsters out of the ocean and stopping it on the water falls on DFO. For our part, for the third or fourth time today, I feel like our department is doing everything that we possibly can to be helpful. The most recent letter that I sent to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans Canada has not yet received a response, but I've called on her to come here, meet with us, meet with me, meet with the member opposite and people on the ground. We are focused on finding a solution. We can't do it all. We can't do it alone. We need DFO's help, and we need it now.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Northside Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Public Works. In estimates last spring, I asked the Minister when the dangerous ruts would be repaired on Highway 125. The answer was that we're 2 years out on those repairs, but the Minister indicated that the engineer would go down, have a look at it, and see what could be done in the meantime. So I'm looking for an update on the Highway 125 ruts. Thank you.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my honourable colleague for the question. I do recall a conversation and estimates that the member brought forward about the rutting and Highway 125. It is part of our capital plan for 26-27. When the member brought it up at estimates, we had crews go down and look at the rutting that is there, and they continue to monitor it. We do have one of the largest capital plans that we've ever had in this province, but they will continue to monitor those ruts and do whatever they have to do. But right now, it's where we're at.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Northside Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm glad to see that they're monitoring the ruts because constituents are monitoring them daily. There's folks that are driving that highway daily, and it is very dangerous, especially when there's bad weather or someone who doesn't know the roads. So I would just implore the minister to try and get the capital plan more faster, moved up. You see what I did there? But in all seriousness, it is a very dangerous situation. Thank you.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I certainly share the concerns of the honourable member and certainly speaking up for his constituents. And, you know, safety is our top priority at DPW on all of our roads, highways, and bridges. I want to assure the member that we will continue to monitor those, and I also would encourage, I know many of the members now are getting calls to have their 5-year highway meetings with the chief engineer in the department. I certainly would encourage all of you to make sure you have those meetings so your priorities are being put forward. But I thank the honourable member for the question.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Cumberland North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today I'd like to ask a question to the Minister of Public Works regarding Route 366. It's an emergency route for all Nova Scotians in the event of flooding on the Chignecto Isthmus or in the reason of disruption for any reason on the Trans-Canada Highway. Since April, Route 366 has been closed, and there has been put in place a long detour. In reviewing a FOIPOP information from the department, we can see that there were people in the department that felt this should have been made a priority and that this culvert should have been replaced urgently. Despite that, The government has chosen not to make it urgent. Can the Premier or the Minister tell us why?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I certainly do not agree with the honourable member across the aisle saying that we have not made this a priority. That is absolutely incorrect, and she knows that. There's been constant conversation and dialogue with the department and the member, with members of the community. That culvert was scheduled on a 5-year highway plan to be replaced. Sadly, it failed. This is a very significant project that we are completing there. The member had no problem when we put like $9 million on a gravel road to improve the detour. The pile driving for the foundations are expected to commence this week, and we will continue on the project.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Cumberland North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the reason we needed so many $1 million worth of gravel is because the roads had not been taken care of for many years. And I've got quotes from the own people in the department saying how deplorable the gravel roads were. But I'm going to also respectfully disagree with the minister, because I've had many experts, contractors, including people confidentially tell me within the department that this culvert could have been replaced within 1 or 2 weeks. And in fact, I'm going to table documents from the department where their own people said this should be replaced urgently. So once again, my question to the minister is this a political ploy? Is that the reason for the delays, and why was this not made urgent? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I ask that you table those documents. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And oh my, everyone thinks they're an engineer. That's one of the things I learned when I became the Minister of Public Works. Everybody thinks they're an engineer. This is a very significant project. This took permitting from DNRR. This took permitting from Fisheries and Oceans. This took permitting from Environment. It is being replaced as an emergency. It's a very significant structure that is being put in there and is expected to be completed fall of 2024.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Madam Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Advanced Education. As university students are settling into their new programs and courses, we know that too many are not settling into adequate housing. In 2022, Students Nova Scotia found that 9% of students were couch surfing, and an additional 17% were living in crowded housing without enough beds for their household. And I can tell you that in 2024, that trend continues. The door opens in my constituency to too many people in small apartments. This government continues to drag its feet on the promised student housing strategy that was supposed to be released last year. Can the minister tell us where it is? Where is the student housing strategy, and why the delay?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Advanced Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the member opposite for the question. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome all students back to post-secondary schools right across this province. One thing I'd like to mention, Madam Speaker, is that we did not wait for a student housing strategy. This government has announced 620 seats in post-secondary housing through NSCC. We continue to work with our post-secondaries. Dalhousie has added 200 beds in their student housing. We have an extra 38 beds just because of our $3 million investment with the Atlantic School of Theology. Cape Breton University continues to add beds, Acadia University, and we continue to add housing.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Cumberland North. Oh, sorry, my apologies. For Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Madam Speaker, Happy Pad was initially pitched as a quick fix to the student housing crisis. Last spring, the minister said that building student housing takes time, and the only thing this government could do overnight was a home sharing plan, and I'll table that. 1 year and $1.3 million later, less than 40 Happy Pad leases have been signed, and I'll table that. This government's overnight solutions clearly aren't working. We need a well-thought-out, long-term plan. How much longer is this government going to leave students scrambling for housing without a proper strategy, a strategy they promised, a strategy they consulted on to ensure that students are housed?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the member opposite for the follow-up question.
Order. Order, please. The time allotted for oral question put to the members put by the members to the ministers has expired. Government business. I recognize the honourable member for Fairview Clayton Park.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. I understand that you're new to the chair, and there's going to be growing pains and the need to explain rules again and to set a tone, because this is you're now the tone setter for the House. But today in question period, because of that, we lost about 2 to 3 minutes of questioning in an already condensed question period. So I'm curious if it's the will of the Speaker that if we're in a situation like this again, in these early days where we're just all getting used to it, that would be something that we could add on to the end of the 50-minute allotted time.
It's not a point of order. Sometimes we get fewer questions, sometimes we get more. At the end of the day, we could look back through the tapes, and I've been watching the time very closely to stop everyone at the 45 seconds. I think that was proven. So I thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. But it is now government business. I recognize the government House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would you please call government bills for second reading?
Public bills for second reading. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you. Would you please call Bill number 459, Health Professional Associations Continuation Act?
Bill number 459. Health Professionals Associations Communication Act. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Speaker, I move that Bill number 459, the Health Professional Associations Continuation Act, be now read a second time. Just a few comments before I take my place. It is my pleasure to rise in the House for second reading of this important housekeeping amendment. This bill establishes the new Nova Scotia Dental Association Act and the Nova Scotia Optometrist Association Act. These associations play a vital role and advocate on behalf of their professions, bringing their voices to the table in discussions with the province. These acts are necessary to enable the implementation of the Regulated Health Professions Act that was introduced last fall. Speaker, through these changes, though these changes are straightforward and indeed housekeeping in nature, as we modernize and rebuild our healthcare system, we recognize the importance of the investments across the system in infrastructure, technology, and workforce, but we also have to keep our laws and regulations up to date and current. As such, while these laws today may seem small and have a small impact, they are key in supporting the overall transformation of our healthcare system and the oversight of our regulated healthcare bodies. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Bedford South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the minister for those comments. I'll just speak briefly on behalf of my colleague from Bedford Basin as well. But obviously, I agree with the minister's characterization of this as primarily a housekeeping bill to clean things up. Obviously, dentists, optometrists do important work, and they're a key part of the healthcare system and the healthcare of each and every one of us here in Nova Scotia. So again, these are fairly straightforward amendments that I don't see any major issue with. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I will take my seat. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member Dartmouth North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy to rise and speak on second reading of Bill 459. The introduction of this legislation shows that slow progress is being made on the Regulated Health Professionals Act that was introduced last fall. The Dental Association Act and Optometrist Association Act are the first two of a total of 21 acts that are being addressed in the bill. And hopefully it means that this government is taking the time, the slow progress is hopefully it means that the government's taking time to work closely with those impacted to ensure a smooth transition to the new regulations. Our caucus is supportive of any changes that improve public safety, enhance oversight, and hasten approvals and licensing of healthcare providers. We must work together with experts to do these things, and we must do it transparently. Just a small point, Mr. Speaker, more information from the government on the specifics of bills and the general progress being made on the Regulated Health Professions Act would have been helpful to have in advance. In short, we hope to see more details emerge about the bill, and we would love to hear from those dentists and optometrists that are impacted. So I guess we will hope to hear from them at law amendments. And in the long term, of course, we ask for greater transparency as the remaining 19 acts are replaced as we go through this process. Thank you.
If I am to recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness, it will be to close debate on Bill number 459, the Health Professional Associations Continuation Act. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you, Speaker. I just will say it's interesting when we introduced the bill last year for the health professional regulations, we were too fast and now we're too slow. But what I want to assure folks is that this is very important collaborative work that's happening between the Department of Health and the respective colleges and associations. And I think to say that it's slow progress is really, really diminishes the work that these organizations have been doing with the department. We want to be intentional. We want to make sure that as we transform, we do the right things and we enable our professions, healthcare professions, to represent themselves. And so I just think that is not a true representation of the important work that's happening. I now move to close debate on second reading of Bill 459.
The motion is to close debate on second reading of Bill number 459, the Health Professional Association Continuation Act. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, nay. That motion carries.
Bill 459, an act respecting the continuation of certain health professional associations.
Order that the bill be referred to the Standing Committee on Law Amendments. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 464, Stronger Workplaces for Nova Scotia Act.
Bill 464, Stronger Workplaces for Nova Scotia Act. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that Bill 464, an act respecting stronger workplaces in Nova Scotia, now be read a second time. I am pleased to rise today before this House to read for a second time Bill 464, an act respecting stronger workplaces in Nova Scotia. This bill will truly strengthen workplaces in Nova Scotia. As Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration, I am always listening to Nova Scotians, and I am grateful when they share their ideas and their experiences. And I learn from all of them. I take what Nova Scotians tell me to heart, and I want to do what I can to support them. I am proud of the amendments within this bill that aim to do just that. Amendments that Nova Scotians told us would help. Amendments that were recommended by the work of the Workers' Compensation Review Committee. Amendments that would make a difference to workers and their families now and for generations to come. Today, the Stronger Workplaces for Nova Scotia Act offers amendments to the Workers' Compensation Act that will help modernize the workers' compensation system. It will ensure occupational health and safety has stable funding, which will help increase supports for workplaces and workers in Nova Scotia. It will implement regularly scheduled reviews of the workers' compensation system. It will establish a return to work process that will help injured workers return to work, which will in turn help their recovery. The amendments to the Occupational Health and Safety Act will clarify that occupational health and safety includes psychological health and safety. And it will create a statutory duty for employers to establish and implement policies respecting the prevention of harassment in the workplace in accordance with the regulations. Finally, this bill will protect workers by amending the Labour Standards Code to create 5 unpaid sick leave days for general illness. This will be in addition to the 3 unpaid days already allowed for medical appointments and family illness leave currently in the code. And we will create a 27-week unpaid leave for employees who are dealing with a serious illness or injury. Eligible employees would have the job protection they need so they can focus on recovery. These changes align with the federal government's employment insurance sickness benefit. And we have heard from community partners who told us improved job protection for employees who are dealing with a serious illness or injury will make a real difference. Workers shouldn't need to worry about anything but getting better. Stronger workplaces in Nova Scotia will better support workers and employers. And that, in turn, will help us attract and retain people in our workforce. This is one way we can make our province better. And I now, Mr. Speaker, would welcome comments from members on the opposite side. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member, Cole Harbour, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is a promising step in the right direction for Nova Scotians, with job-protected leave being debated and hopefully soon to be passed. Those facing serious illness like cancer can focus on their health, knowing that their job will be waiting for them when they're ready to return. And I want to acknowledge the good work and all the consultation that took place through the Department of Labour Skills and Immigration, and acknowledge their hard work with the Workers' Compensation Board as well, the Canadian Cancer Society, and various community partners. That does take a lot of time, and it's very well, it's going to result in making positive improvements for all Nova Scotians. The decision to extend job-protected leave from 3 days to 26 weeks builds on a bill originally brought forward here in 23 by the member for Bedford Basin. This ensures that Nova Scotians facing a serious illness can take the necessary time off without fear of losing their job. This is not about politics. It's about people. It's about Nova Scotians. And I'm grateful that the government has recognized the importance of this idea and acted on it, ensuring that so many families across our province will have the peace of mind they need during most difficult times of their lives. I want to take a moment to recognize the member of Bedford Basin for the dedication to this cause, as well as the leader of the official opposition for continuing to champion job-protected leave. We did it with Ruby's Law for infant loss, and we're here again, and I want to acknowledge that. It's also important to acknowledge that this was an issue where all parties were able to come together. I can't emphasize that enough, as demonstrated when the resolution to study job-protected leave passed unanimously in November of 23. This shows that when we focus in this room on what's really best for Nova Scotians, we can achieve real progress. This move will make a meaningful difference in the lives of many Nova Scotians, ensuring that during some of their toughest moments, and I'm acknowledging many right now, and I'm sure we all are thinking of loved ones in that situation, they won't have to worry about their job. Today, we've shown that when we work together, we can make life so much better for the people that we serve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member, Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I first came to the legislature, improving WCB and labor protections was one of my main goals. It was something I worked towards, put forward a bill on for the WCB review. And I am happy that the minister took that to heart. And I want to thank the Minister of Labor for actually reading the bill, for speaking to me about it numerous times. And for that, I acknowledge her. I got to be a part of the WCB review. I went to the meetings. I sent in multiple emails and brought forward stories. It was my privilege to bring forward the stories of my constituents and help them tell their stories to the minister, to the WCB Review Committee, so that they understood the importance of this review and the need to improve WCB for all workers. With that, we are pleased in the Nova Scotia NDP caucus to see the government make progress on some key issues that will help improve on our WCB system and our worker protections. Job protection for those facing serious illness or injury is important and something that we know advocates have been calling on for some time, and for the advocates who've been working to improve WCB, to the widow who lost her husband and had to fight for benefits, to the workers who are injured, who are continuously having to fight for their benefits, to the worker who was told to go back to work before their surgeon told them they were ready. To all of those people, I give my wholehearted thank you, because it's because of them that this review is taking place, and to the unions who also fought, and to the Nova Scotia Federation of Labour who also fought for this review. I thank them for their advocacy. And while the improvements to the number of sick days are welcome, our caucus remains committed that this government needs to take bold action and legislate paid sick days and paid leave for Nova Scotian workers. The addition of psychological safety under the Occupational Health and Safety Act is something I personally have spoken in this House on multiple occasions, and on which my caucus has introduced legislation on several occasions. And I look forward to learning more details about what will be included under the definitions, what improved reporting mechanisms will look like, and how this new policy will be rolled out and communicated to the employers and the employees. This is a positive step forward, and one that our caucus is happy to support. Finally, I understand this bill contains multiple key changes to our WCB system that were prompted from the recently released report. Required reviews is an important first step in improving the accountability of our system. And we hope to see this government committed to ensuring workers' voices are well represented in these future reviews. There's a lot of different elements contained within this bill, Mr. Speaker. We look forward to robust discussions at law amendments and continued discussion about how we can improve workplace protections for all workers. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member Cumberland North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I stand in support of Bill 464. I also look forward to hearing from stakeholders at Law Amendments Committee. Upon reviewing this bill, a couple of things I just want to make comment on, and one is workers' comp. And when I'm hearing from business owners in particular, obviously they're very concerned about the high costs here in Nova Scotia that we pay for workers' comp. And I wanted just to make a note. One of the significant reasons for the long delays is the lack of access to diagnostic testing and lack of access to other healthcare professionals. And that is one of the things that needs to be addressed. And I don't see that obviously in this bill, but certainly is important. And also in this bill, it talks about prevention of workplace harassment policy, which is good to see, but I think we also need to look at management of harassment and policies around how do business owners manage the workplace harassment after it happens. So this bill talks about preventing workplace harassment, but we need to also look at managing that when that does happen. Recently, I've spoken with a constituent who suffered at the hands of a coworker, very severe sexual harassment in the workplace, and this unfortunately happens way too often. And I'm hoping that this workplace harassment policy will include very specific work around sexual harassment, sexual
assault and violence in the workplace as well, Madam Speaker. And I'm also just curious if it will be retroactive. When this bill does come into effect, will it be looking at historical injuries as well? And with those few comments, I'll take my seat. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
If I am to recognize the Honourable Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration, it is to close first reading on this bill. Second reading on this bill. I recognize the Honourable Minister for Labour, Skills and Immigration.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank each member for your thoughtful comments and for your unwavering support. When I first took on the task of Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration, I said it this morning in an interview, Madam Speaker, that I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge or connection to the workers' compensation system or the board, but conversations, especially with the member of Cape Breton Centre, Winty Pier, and constituents and other members in this House, it was evident that 20 years of this system not being looked at was far too long, far too long. And knowing that there is an opportunity ahead of us to make sure that that never happens again, that's why the review for 5 years has been implemented in this legislation. And Madam Speaker, there were many important points, and this is just the start, because the work of the review committee has now set us a pathway to say, this is the responsibility that the department has, which again, we are acting with this bill by making significant changes to return to work, the review, and putting a purpose statement in the act as well, Madam Speaker. But also recognizing the importance of psychological health and safety. Our workplaces are changing, and we have to make sure that legislation changes with it. But the review committee in their work and recommendations, we know that there is work that the WCB is going to have to do, that employers and workers, and that conversation is now going to be a requirement so that we can make sure that we have a system that can get to funded, it can be sustainable for the long term. And that's what we want for workers and employers across this province. So for every Nova Scotian who came to those consultations, who shared their personal experience and their stories, I want to say that we heard you and that your voices are reflected in that report and reflected in this legislation that I hope will make it through to the finish line, Madam Speaker, because it is significant. And the piece with the Labour Standards Code, of course, for the member of Cole Harbour Dartmouth, we have to recognize that this was brought forward to the floor. And I also said then, Madam Speaker, that I would do something about it, and I am. We are. This is so personal to myself and so many others, Madam Speaker, and it's going to make a significant difference for people to recover and focus on healing in their time of need. And so, Madam Speaker, with those few words, I just want to say to the members opposite, thank you. This was significant, and I am so incredibly proud of my team at the Department of Labour, Skills and Immigration for pushing this and making this happen. So, Madam Speaker, I move to close debate on Bill 464, an act respecting stronger workplaces in Nova Scotia.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 464, Stronger Workplaces for Nova Scotia Act. Would all those in favor of the motion please say aye? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. Ordered that the bill be referred to the Standing Committee on Law.
Bill 464, an act respecting stronger workplaces for Nova Scotia.
Ordered that this bill be referred to the Standing Committee on Law Amendments. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That concludes government business for the day. I move that the House to now rise to meet again on Tuesday, September the 10th, between the hours of 1 and 6. Law amendments will be held on Monday, September the 9th, between noon and 7 p.m. Government business will include second reading of Bill 467 and second reading of private and local Bill number 469. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
There is a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. We will adjourn until Tuesday, September 10th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Thank you.